What is going on, everybody? I thought for a long time that I wasn't going to discuss this. I mean, I've been discussing it a lot on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and with friends, family, and colleagues and associates. But I think I'm just gonna have to make a video as well to discuss this, the Sandra Bland situation. All basically, they had her funeral yesterday. And the past 2 weeks since her death, there has been a smear campaign by by the media, and you have news networks such as CNN bringing on guests who are just ignorant and disrespectful to the dead. Then CNN has been very. I feel like CNN is pretty much the new Fox, so it's really ridiculous. But then again, if you know the history behind CNN, Fox, and MSNBC, and you start being more informed, you find out that these three news networks are owned by the same corporation, so you're not really getting any real information out of these news stations. They're all owned by the same corporation, by the same wealthy capitalist 1%. So it doesn't matter if you're looking at MSNBC, Fox, or CNN. They're all owned and operated by the same corporation. Okay, do your research. But I will say this: they try to have different, or they try to give out this perceived notion that CNN is bipartisan and is neutral, and Fox is supposed to be conservative, Republican, and then MSNBC is supposed to be liberal, Democrat. They try to perceive that persona, but in reality, they're all owned by the same corporation, by the same wealthy 1% capitalistic pigs. But anyways, let's get to it. With the Sandra Bland situation, they're saying that she committed suicide. The autopsy that was done in Texas is saying that they're not classifying her death as a homicide, and they're saying that it was a suicide. And then there's pictures floating around the social media wave saying that she was possibly dead in her mugshot. And then the mugshot itself looks staged, or it doesn't look like a mugshot should look. Number one, when you look at the mugshot, it looks like she is either held or pressed up against the wall or a floor. Okay, because it's like when you take a mugshot, like look at me. That's a mugshot. You're not going to be held down like this, and your shoulders are kind of be like this. See the difference? My shoulders are down. It's like this. Where hers, it's like she's held down, so it's like it makes her shoulders look up, and then one shoulder, this shoulder looks like it's like going down towards her, which she stated that when she called to someone while she was in jail that she felt that her shoulder had been broke or dislocated because she was pulled out of her, like the police officer who stopped her literally tried to pull her out of the window of the door. Then the whole circumstances of her being arrested didn't even make any sense, because it's like she didn't do anything against the law to be arrested. And then the arresting officer, you could stated, we don't really have anything to get her with. And then this goes back to how, police brutality, racism, racial profiling, goes into play, along with sexism and classism. It's so much going on here, because the notion in the black community is only black men and only black boys are being targeted by police, and we know that to be complete bullshit, because men, women, boys, girls, young, old, gay, straight, in between are being targeted by police if their skin color is two shades too dark, or if they're a part of a lower economical status. We see that throughout history, throughout this society, throughout this country, and throughout this world. So we really have to stop thinking that men and boys are the only victims of police brutality, okay? That's why they created the Say Her Name campaign in the first place, because with the Black Lives Matter campaign, too often it was only focused on black men and black boys, as if black women and black girls are not being assaulted, murdered, slaughtered, killed, disrespected, and oppressed and discriminated against. I just have to get that out. But yeah, it looks like she's either being held down or forced down on the wall, on the floor. Another thing is people saying there's another picture floating around where it's the same picture of the mugshot, but except her eyes are going up in her, like, you know, up in her head, like that, right? So they're saying that she's possibly dead in the mugshot. And that's sad. You know, that's just freaking sad, and it's just ridiculous that in 2015, these are the things we're still talking about, and then we still have this society that wants to say, oh, we're living in a post-racial America, when clearly that's not the truth. People are being racially profiled, murdered, slaughtered, tortured, killed, oppressed, and discriminated against because of their racial makeup, because of their skin complexion, because of their skin tone, because of their ethnicity. It's still racist. It was never not racist. So I'm just trying to figure out what post-racial was supposed to mean. And then, you know, they're saying, well, and they keep having these offset excuses for why these things happen. So they're saying that if she wasn't mouthy, and like I said, the guy on CNN, well, she was arrogant, and that's what led to her being arrested and possibly her death. First of all, someone being arrogant doesn't mean that you arrest them. They didn't violate any law. Okay, number two, it was an unlawful arrest to begin with. You had no real reasons to arrest her. And most people who know they didn't do anything wrong are going to speak out about it when they get pulled over. Okay? So nobody has to respect you. I kind of feel like that's what, you know, you guys fail to look at. Nobody has to kiss a police officer's butt, okay? Not to mention, we're paying your salary because you're being paid by the taxpayers, not by the government. So if anybody needs respect, it's the citizen, not the dang police officer, okay? Last time I checked, I'm paying your salary. But let me not even go on that one, right? And these are the same type of excuses that you will often hear sexist men say, well, if she didn't wear this, she wouldn't be raped. It's no different than, well, if she wasn't arrogant and speaking out about this, she wouldn't have been arrested. Or if he didn't have on baggy pants, maybe he wouldn't have been shot at because he looked like a thug. Like, these are the type of stuff people are saying. It's ridiculous. And it's like they're trying, like I said, they're trying to justify racism, sexism, classism, racial profiling, police brutality, and murder. But like I said, if Sandra Bland was white, this wouldn't even have been a case. They would have been like, oh, my bad, I'm sorry, go on, have a good day, and you know what, I hope you have a great job interview. That would have been the end of that. Instead of trying to yank a person out of a freaking car window, doing an unlawful arrest, and then trying to stage a suicide when none of this adds up. Then you have this smear campaign where they're basically saying, oh, well, you know, she had large amounts of weed in her system. Marijuana has nothing to do with a person being unlawfully arrested, racially profiled, assaulted and abused, and then murdered 3 days later. So this bringing in marijuana as if this is going to justify her death is ridiculous, okay? Like I said, they do all these smear campaigns to make people look, you know, negative and look like criminals and thugs, but in the meantime, when it's a white person doing the same thing, look at all these mass shootings. Oh, Dylan Roof he was a troubled child and he didn't have a good childhood and, he was depressed. They'll do everything to make them look good. But then when a person of color, a minority group individual is murdered, killed, or disrespected and treated, all of a sudden, he was a thug, they were criminals, they were gangsters, they were aggravating, they were arrogant. Anything negative will be associated with us, right? So the hypocrisy in all of this is just ridiculous. I will say this, her mother is taking a very strong approach, and I appreciate it, because I'm so sick and tired of seeing people of color and any minority group, after a tragic event happens, getting on TV and we're going to pray for them. We're going to give them forgiveness. What kind of BS is that? Your child was murdered and slaughtered, and you're sitting up here forgiving the people who murdered and slaughtered your children? Exactly. Okay, that's another problem with minority groups. You're always forgiving the enemy. Okay, and the enemy doesn't care if you forgive them or not. They're going to continue to do what they want to do. Okay, just going to let that be out there. But her mother is taking a very strong, proactive approach. She's going to get justice, and you know what? We're going to fight for justice, because enough is enough. Yeah, I had to do my video. Because I've been talking about it with colleagues, friends, associates, family members. I've been posting like crazy on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We've been doing a lot of this. We do all the marching, we get the marches together, we do the protests, we do the sit-ins, the die-ins. But guess what? You know what? Some of these ways of trying to get social justice is old and redundant, and it's time to look at other tactics and alternatives. We can't continue to march and protest while we're being slaughtered and murdered and denied basic human rights. It's getting old. In fact, it is old. It's 400 plus years of this type of treatment. And then you want us to sit up here and forgive you? Please. Anyways, and I'm not going to say rest in peace, because my thing is, how can one rest in peace when they were murdered? I mean, really, when you look at the stuff that we say, we've been so desensitized, where everybody's just a hashtag and everybody's just a RIP, and it's ridiculous. What we need to say is, we will get justice.